Hi again, it's Dan Olds with Gabriel Consulting Group. I'm also the Register HPC analyst, and we're doing another Register HPC channel webcast. Today we're going to be talking with Jason Kilman, and it's a very interesting story. This is going to be fun. We're going to take an inside look at the student cluster competition. He was on the University of Texas student cluster competition team in 2010 in New Orleans. And look on this slide here. What a fine-looking young man. Jason's a senior at University of Texas, just finishing up this year. Let's see. Say hi, Jason.
How's it going?
Good. And you're a recreation and leisure studies major, right?
Studying more computer science now.
So more of the computer science aspect of that, and not so much the art history, or not?
Yeah, I got kind of bored with that.
Okay. Okay. So also some computer science in there.
Yeah, a little bit.
Okay. And Jason's was a lot of fun last year. And if you look back at some of the videos from supercomputing and the student cluster competition, Jason was one of the spokespeople for the Texas team, at least the guy that was most willing to talk in the dead of night. And so you're working part-time at Intel now, right, in Austin?
Yeah, I've been there for about 2 years now.
Okay, that's a good thing. A little bit of a apprenticeship, almost.
Yeah, it's an internship. They do internships with a lot of students from UT, engineering and computer science.
Good deal. Now that Texas team, first time you guys were there, and I remember giving you guys a lot of crap about it taking UT so long to get there, but you came in with kind of a splash. You were you were the first team to break a teraflop. Now 3 of them did it, and you came damn close to winning the whole thing. So very good on that standpoint. Let's talk a little bit about what it was like.
It was a lot of fun. It was, first and foremost, it was just a lot of fun. We learned a lot throughout the 6 months leading up to the competition. Learned a whole lot in the 3 days during the competition.
Yeah, kind of a trial by fire during those 3 days.
Pretty much, and it was a lot of fun just talking to everybody in industry that was at the conference. We got to meet a lot of really cool people. A lot of people that we never would have been able to meet not getting involved if we hadn't gotten involved in one of these competitions.
Absolutely. I think it's a great thing for students to do. Let's take a look at Saturday. So you get to New Orleans, and Saturday morning you're setting up the systems, right?
Yeah, Saturday morning we got into the conference center pretty much right when they opened the doors, grabbed a cup of coffee, then unpacked our cluster and all of our decorations and everything that we had.
And was everybody else setting up about the same time?
Yeah, pretty much. Teams trickled in throughout the morning, and everybody just unpacked their clusters. Some teams were just getting their racks actually that day, so it was the first time they'd put their server blades into the racks, and wired everything up, made sure it all worked. We had a slight network problem at the beginning, but we got that all sorted out.
Now, it was your first chance to meet some of the other teams, and was everybody walking around and sort of kicking the tires on what everybody else brought?
Yeah, I mean, we just we set our stuff up, and then walked around to the other booths and introduced ourselves and checked out what equipment they had, made some wagers on who would win it.
Anything have you guys scared?
Yeah, the Stony Brook team brought a really cool rig. I thought it was
the Cray, I think, wasn't it?
It was a little Cray machine. It was really neat. I really
great form factor.
Talking to those guys about it.
And they were also rolling in with GPUs, but maybe a little bit before it was fully baked.
Yeah, they had a few GPUs in there. Somebody, I remember, had rigged up some sort of like a remote control system to the cluster with a smartphone app or something that had connected to it.
Nice.
It was pretty funny.
Good style points there.
Oh yeah.
So you get all set up on Saturday, and they kick you out finally, and then we go to Sunday, testing, right?
Yep. Yeah. Sunday we did a lot of testing. We went through HPL, ran all of our ran HPL, made sure that was working. We did some power testing, and
it turns out that was kind of a key, right?
Yeah. So when we plugged in the cluster and we ran the benchmarks and we were monitoring the power, and we noticed that it was using a lot less power than when we had tested it the day before or a few days before in Austin. And it turned out that it was a higher voltage coming out of the power strips that we had in the conference center. So we were actually able to turn on an extra half a node for the benchmark.
So what do we, an extra CPU then and some extra memory?
Yeah, it was an extra CPU and memory. And basically what we did was we had nine blades, and we were just going to leave one completely idle through the HPL run because we just couldn't take the power. We just didn't have enough power. And when we got to the conference room, we plugged our machine in, did the initial run, and noticed that we had enough power to up the CPU count.
Well, tell us a little bit about that. The hard cap on power is 26 amps, but it's not actually a hard cap. You can go over it, but you're penalized, right?
I don't know if you're penalized. We never actually went over.
Well, I believe that there was a penalty because there were. I remember seeing some of the graphs, and some of the teams would bounce around.
Yeah, they were bouncing around. I don't know if they actually got points marked off. I wouldn't doubt that they did. But basically, the judges would come around and say, "Hey, you're overpower. This run doesn't count," or "You're overpower. Get it down."
So they'd have to crank it down a little bit, crank the frequencies down.
Yeah, they would basically if it was staying overpower and there was nothing they could do during the run, they would just have to kill the run, readjust their input, and then do another run.
But trying to get as high as they can without going over.
Exactly.
Okay. So that was good. So you guys basically went into the competition with roughly, what, 10% more than you thought you were going to have?
Yeah, something like that.
Gotta like that. But then all of the fun started on Monday morning.
Monday morning.
When you started the HPL runs, the HPCC.
Yes. That was... they said go, and we worked as fast as we could to get as many runs in as we could.
How long did it take you till you hit your peak, or was that just the best final score you did?
Well, I think every run that we did was over a teraflop. Our final run so the judges came around and gave us some tips throughout the day, and based on one of the judges' tips, we were able to modify our input, and our final run, we ended up getting the highest score with that modified input, so that was pretty cool.
Nice. And I think that everybody was surprised that 3 teams did it. You guys were highest. Another team, LSU, just barely snuck over, and I think Taiwan was 0.9999 or something of a teraflop.
Yeah, something like that.
So it rounded into that. But nice, very nice. It'll be interesting to see how many teams do it this year.
Yeah.
Then Monday night, 7:30, they give you the data sets, and you go to town at that point, right?
Yeah, that's right. They gave us the data sets Monday night, and we basically just rushed to read through all the instructions and figure out how we were going to run all the data sets and figure out how we were going to split the data between the cluster.
Now, from Monday night to until Wednesday afternoon, how much sleep did you guys get?
Most of my team, I think, got a night's sleep during the competition. Probably one night's sleep each.
Now,
I got about 4 hours total, I think.
Yeah, you were there a lot. Every time I swung by, middle of the night, middle of the day, didn't really seem to matter, but you were there.
Yeah, the night that I was supposed to sleep, I got back to the hotel, laid down in bed, and about an hour later, Philip, our team captain, calls the hotel room and says, "Jason, get down here. The cluster crashed. You have to restart it."
Ooh. And that's the thing that maybe people don't understand is that from Monday evening until Wednesday afternoon, you guys are just cranking.
Yeah.
That's it. And the way you guys, I was kind of surprised at how you attacked this. You just sort of divided up the cluster in 4 and started cranking the different workloads, and then adjusting on the fly as one would finish or need less resource, right?
Pretty much. We had a lot of flexibility, definitely with the password cracking application, where it didn't matter where we were in password cracking. We could just stop the program, or not even stop the program, just launch more jobs at the resources as they became available. So when NAMD would finish, I think NAMD was first to finish. It was like the first day I think it finished, and we had 2 nodes available after that finished, so we just launched more password cracking jobs at it. And then I think War finished, and Flash still had some ways to go, so we reorganized how Flash was running and launched it on a couple extra nodes, and then had password cracking running on the rest.
And with Wharf and Flash, you were either tied with or right there with the eventual winner, Taiwan. A little bit of difference on some of the other apps, but it looks like in a lot of ways the password cracking was the app that told the tale.
Yeah, I think NAMD and password cracking were the 2 that we had pretty big differences with the Taiwanese team.
And what happened with the story with the password cracking is something that I really like, because it just goes to show how the smallest things can make the biggest difference. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, basically what they did was they gave us a file with thousands and thousands of encrypted passwords. And one of the algorithms was a blowfish algorithm. And you can tell from looking at the encrypted password how many what they call rounds the crypt algorithm goes through. Mm-hmm. And so the Taiwanese team, smart guys over there, they decided, well, why don't we sort this password file based off of how many rounds we have to do? Because a lot less rounds, the less time it's going to take. And I was actually in charge of our password cracking application, and I totally didn't even think of that. And neither did any other team except for the Taiwanese.
Yeah,
so,
no one else did.
Yeah, so they destroyed everybody on that one.
Well, it was not actually destroyed. I mean, you guys were pretty close, but they were, you hit probably 80% of their performance on that.
Yeah. And we had the same hardware, so it was whoever was the smartest about how they ran their applications.
But it's just a subtle little thing,
very, very subtle, very subtle.
But not something that wouldn't occur to anybody.
No, like right when they told me what they did, I kicked myself.
Well, the judges were kind of shocked too. I don't know that. I mean, they were sitting back and appreciating it, and I don't think that they necessarily expected anybody to do it. I'm not sure that occurred to them, as one of the things to watch for, that, see if somebody sorts it first.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of other things to worry about in that application, and that just was not something that I was really thinking about.
That's great, though. Well,
yeah.
Taking a look on the next slide, I've been running a little web survey to get some odds on the teams, and here's the competitors this year. You saw 5 of them last year, and the thing that's great here is just how much time Texas people will take to stuff the ballot on this thing.
Who says that we're stuffing the ballot on this one? I mean, we got a lot of fans.
The IP addresses say that, actually. Unless those fans came from worldwide and went on the campus, that's where the IP addresses end up. So, yeah.
I have to set up some proxy servers.
Yeah, tell them to bounce that around a little more. Makes it a little less obvious. But right now, Texas is a 2-1 favorite with Texans to win. But there's some really interesting competitors this year. The Taiwanese coming off at 8-1, and I think that they should be even a little bit more of a favorite myself.
I think the Taiwanese team is going to do really well. Their coaches last year really impressed me, and all the students as well.
But they are coming in with a completely different team.
Yeah, they are coming in with a completely different team, but they had really great coaches as well, and I talked to them, and they really impressed me.
And they've got the same vendor from last year too, which is going to be helpful. So no instability there. Purdue, been to the dance 5 times, hasn't come away with a lot of hardware.
Yeah.
And
We'll see how they do. I think they came with they're running AMD. I think Purdue was sponsored by Dell and AMD, where we were Dell and Intel. So it's kind of
yeah.
I think it came down to deciding which company to pick.
Mm. It'll be interesting to see what happens. I mean, they're also Colorado is another team that's been there every year and hasn't won the big prize, but both of those teams are bringing back a lot of veterans from 1, 2, 3, or even 4 competitions. So it'll be interesting to see if that makes a difference. New entrant this year, Boston University. Coming off in the middle of the pack. Interesting thing about them is they had a play-in cluster competition on campus.
Oh, yeah?
That's got to make you think.
That's interesting.
I think that's very interesting. I like that spirit. And pretty savage competition from what I understand. And we have the Russians back. Now, did you go to the movie night at the Russians' place? Their booth?
I remember them having it, yes. I think we were watching Back to the Future.
Oh, okay. And arranging your booth flair. Also have a team from Costa Rica in for the first time. Kind of don't know a lot about them. Haven't heard an awful lot of scuttlebutt. We'll see what happens. And then the one that I think is really interesting, at number 7 there in the odds, is the National Defense University of China.
They should be pretty interesting to watch.
Because they're working out on what was the number 1 and what is the number 2 largest computer on the top 500, the Tianyi.
Yeah.
That's the institution that built that thing.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they brought a bunch of GPUs with them.
No, I think that's pretty safe to assume. And I've got a pretty good feeling they know how to use them.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting times with the competition. And I hope you get the chance to get in and vote for Texas 20 or 30 more times before I close this out.
I only cast 1 vote, but I'll be sure to do that.
Oh, you lie! I bet that survey's bookmarked for you. So anyway, looking at what's going on, I'm going to go ahead and just let that ring. I'm not even going to get that. What tips would you give a team at this point in the competition? Is there anything they can do?
Get some sleep.
Bank some sleep away, huh?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's one thing that I wish I would have done more of last year, was got some more sleep during the competition. You don't really need to be there 24/7. Your team can take over.
Well, it's fun though too.
Oh yeah.
I mean, there's
definitely a lot of fun.
A lot of good times there. Well, this is good. Well, thank you so much for the time, Jason. I really appreciate it. And too bad you're not going to be there, because you'd be a great color commentator on this.
Well, keep me updated on what's going on.
Well, that's going to be on the Register. I'll be doing complete coverage there like last year. Maybe even we'll get a Blazer. I don't know. I'd like to get a Blazer and start a whole Register computer sports division. That would be fun.
That'd be great.
And thank you everybody out there for listening. And if you have any questions, comments, complaints, input, feedback, whatever, let us know. And we will be talking to you again soon. Thanks a lot.